Good evening. Yes, good evening to everybody. Distinguished delegates, I call to order the fourth plenary meeting of the committee. I invite delegates to take their seats. Before proceeding further, I would like to give the floor to the Executive Secretary, Ms. Jyoti Mathur-Philip. Madam, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Distinguished delegates, a very good evening to you. We have seen steady progress has been made since the last plenary. We have now moved into textual negotiations, and it is clear that we must seize the time left for us here in Ottawa. Dear delegates, as we come together again, I take this opportunity to remind participants of the Code of Conduct in place to prevent harassment at UN system events. Based on this Code of Conduct, all UN system events are guided by ethical and professional standards, and all participants are expected to behave with integrity and respect towards all participants attending or involved here at INC-4. Also, please note that contact group meeting rooms are strictly off limits for media, and any video recording by delegations is prohibited. In addition, seating within contact groups is predetermined and non-negotiable. Please do not hesitate to contact a member of the INC Secretariat and the Department of Security of the United Nations to report any cases of misconduct. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Mathur-Philip, and thank you to all of you, and just also in that light to remind to all of us that each country, each delegate, each negotiator, each organization, each participant in this meeting deserves all our respect. Thank you very much. Distinguished delegates, we are convening this plenary meeting this evening to address the matter of possible intersessional work. Time permitting, we will also take some statements from observers at the end of this plenary meeting. Distinguished delegates, the committee will now continue its consideration of Agenda Item 4. As I mentioned during the plenary meeting on Friday evening, I have been consulting with the Bureau as well as other delegations on this important issue and closely coordinating with the contact group co-chairs and subgroup co-facilitators. Further to these discussions, I would like to propose that the committee decides tomorrow the following with respect to intersessional work. First, the committee will decide to establish an ad hoc intersessional open-ended expert group. The group will develop an analysis of potential resources and means that could be mobilized for implementation of the instrument for consideration at INC-5. Second, the expert group will take as a starting point the reports of the co-chairs of Contact Group 2 established at INC-4 and the draft text on means of implementation, Part 3, Section 1, and this expert group will be open to participation of all members. Third, the expert group will have 2 co-chairs. Fourth, the committee will also decide to establish an ad hoc intersessional open-ended expert group to propose criteria on products, chemicals of concern, and related product design issues for the consideration of INC-4. Fifth, the expert group will be informed by the reports of the co-chairs of Contact Group 1 established at INC-4 and the draft text of the relevant sections developed at this session. The expert group will be open to participation of all members. Sixth, the expert group will have 2 co-chairs. 7, the 2 experts groups will commence their work using electronic means following conclusions of INC-4. 8, the committee will further request the Secretariat to organize, subject to the availability of financial resources, 1 in-person meeting for each expert group in the intersessional period before INC-5. At this stage, I will welcome comments from members on this proposal. The floor is open. I can see in my list Iraq. Iraq, you have the floor, followed by India. Iraq, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for giving Iraq the possibility to speak. Iraq supporting your proposal on the intersessional work, and we're looking forward to working positively at that intersessional work. I believe that the time is now is very important for technical speech and technical discussion. Better maybe will lead us to better progress than the negotiable approach. And also Iraq submitted a conference room paper regulating chemicals and is considering the intersessional work as a major issue in that CRP. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
I thank the representative from Iraq, and now I give the floor to India, followed by Rwanda. India, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. As we meet here again today to review the progress made so far, we believe that we have covered a lot of ground and are ready to take it forward for intersessional work to have a concrete base for INC-5. We support the proposal of the Chair on intersessional work. We would like to emphasize that the intersessional work should cover the dedicated financial mechanism which would assist the developing countries in meeting the compliance obligation. Chair, I would also like to make certain observations about the proceedings so far. As we make efforts to arrive at consensus-based solution for tackling plastic pollution, we need to keep in mind that in the enthusiasm of trying to achieve an early agreement, we should not make mistake of creation of divisions among the member states for any reason. It is disheartening to note that in some of the negotiations, there has been instances where member states were not given timely and equal opportunity to express their views. Such practices vitiate the atmosphere of trust and has potential to create doubts about the transparency and equity in the negotiation process. Unless each and every member state is on board, we run the risk of making the agreement ineffective. India is of the view that as we approach the last stage of our negotiation to arrive at agreeable solution by the end of INC-5, we should be extremely careful to take every member state together to build consensus. Further, the views of each member state should be invited and judiciously reflected in the modified text. We also reiterate that draft rules of procedure be finalized and adopted before the beginning of textual negotiations in INC-5 to allow rule-based conduct of INC meeting. India is positively committed to engage constructively in this negotiation and look forward to actively contributing towards a consensus-based agreement to achieve the goal of tackling plastic pollution. Chair, I request that this intervention may be included in the meeting report. Thank you, Chair.
I thank the representative from India. Now I give the floor to Rwanda, followed by Ghana. Rwanda, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, for your proposal on intersession work. However, it is missing one critical element. Rwanda and Peru submitted a conference room paper calling for a compilation report of scientific and technical information on sustainable levels of consumption and reduction of primary plastic polymers, and an open-ended working group to consider options for primary plastic polymers, including the implication of no option. Dear Chair, 65 members of the High Ambition Coalition support this view that ending plastic pollution requires an ambitious and effective international legally binding instrument that is comprehensive in scope and addresses the full life cycle of plastics, including primary plastic polymers. But we also recognize this is an issue characterized by divergent views. Despite this, we believe that we all share that there is at least one convergence on the desire to develop an instrument that is fit for purpose, guided by science. And to do so, the question we must ask and answer is, what are sustainable levels of production and consumption? This clearly aligns with the scope of UNEA Resolution 514 and our mandate throughout the INC process. And exploring the scientific and technical aspects of the question is clearly without prejudice to any policy positions or options, but it must be explored. The science tells us that current and projected levels of plastic consumption and production are unsustainable and far exceed our waste management and recycling capacities. Moreover, these levels of production are also inconsistent with the goal of ending plastic pollution and limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees. We need to make progress on this topic in the lead up to INC-5, and I hope that you will consider our request. Thank you.
I thank the representative from Rwanda. Now I give the floor to Ghana, followed by Peru. Ghana, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Africa Group underscores the need for intersessional work before INC-5 and looks forward to a mandate for intersessional work as one of the outcomes from this meeting. Such intersessional work should focus on the following. 1, criteria for identification and listing of chemicals and polymers of concern. 2, criteria for identification and listing of problematic and avoidable plastic products. 3, criteria for exemptions applicable to chemicals and polymers of concern, problematic and avoidable plastics, and sector-specific applications currently covered under the proposed provisions on scope of the instruments in the streamlined text. 4, the modalities for the financing mechanism, considering that the Africa Group strongly supports the establishment of a new dedicated financing mechanism for the instrument. 5, product design and performance, including criteria and approaches to promote circularity. 6, transparency, tracking, monitoring, and enabling, particularly in regard to tracking of chemicals used in production of plastics, and approaches and minimum requirements for information disclosure. And 7, compilation of key relevant definitions to be used in the context of the instrument. On the proposed approach for intersessional work, the Africa Group calls for an open-ended intersessional process. The Africa Group looks forward to the Intergovernmental Negotiating Committee providing a clear way forward on intersessional work and agreements on how the outcomes from the process shall be integrated in the negotiation process during INC-5. We look forward to participating actively in this process. I thank you, Mr. Chair.
I thank the representative from Ghana. Now I give the floor to Peru, followed by Malawi. Peru, you have the floor.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Peru would like to support what has been said by Rwanda. We thank you for your efforts and your proposal on intersessional work. We think that the issue of primary polymers is missing in the intersessional work, and we were supported by many delegations because we firmly believe that the resolution 5/14 covers the mandate to study the issue of primary polymers to really face the plastic pollution from the whole life cycle of plastics. So we encourage you to look into this issue again with a view to study this matter during the intersessional period. Thank you.
Muchas gracias a la representación.
Thank you to Representative Peru. I now give the floor to Malawi.
Followed by the Russian Federation. Malawi, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Malawi would like to support Rwanda's proposal for intersessional work to consider aspects related to all options for primary plastic polymers. The science is clear. We cannot end plastic pollution without addressing plastic production. Let's take this opportunity to learn more and ensure our negotiations at INC-5 progress in an informed manner. I thank you, Chair.
I thank the representative from Malawi. Now I give the floor to the Russian Federation, followed by Nigeria. Russian Federation, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Chair. We recognize the importance of organizing intersessional work. We have before us a very bold ambition to create a new environmental protection document aimed against combating the pollution of the environment through plastic waste. We back your proposal regarding the conduct of 2 in-person meetings. However, we believe that it is important to organize work on determining the topics on which the intersessional work should focus. Now, in our view, these topics should take into account the interest of all parties to the negotiations process. Sir, we would also like to draw your attention to the fact that the co-chairs who will lead the negotiations process within the contact groups during the intersessional period must be unbiased and must carry out their work as honest brokers, honest referees. We place a great deal of trust in the co-chairs, and we believe that they should bear in mind the interests of all the parties to the negotiations process. And we cherish the hope that they will be unbiased and objective. Thank you.
I thank the Russian Federation. Now I give the floor to Nigeria, followed by Kenya. Nigeria, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Nigeria fully supports your proposal on the intersessional work and the proposed mandate. However, we would like to appeal that the mandate be extended to include the development of criteria for exception on the scope of the instrument, as blanket exception of plastic use in medical and health sector and scientific research can be counterproductive. Mr. Chair, we will also want to appeal that the intersessional process should also consider a specific number of non-member states per region to participate, because in the Africa region, the non-member states constitute some of our experts, and it will be good for us if they can be part of it. So we are appealing that maybe 5 per region, 5 non-member per region can be considered for participation during the international process. Thank you.
I thank the representative from Nigeria. Now I give the floor to Kenya, followed by Senegal. Senegal, you have the floor. Sorry, Kenya, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Chair. And we want to thank you for the briefing you have given us. We agree with your roadmap of activities, and we support the intersessional work in order to fast-track the negotiation leading to Busan. At this point, we want to also associate ourselves with the statement that has been delivered by the distinguished delegate of Ghana on behalf of the African group. Apart from the areas that she elaborated, we would like to propose the inclusion of biodiversity as one of the aspects that needs to be discussed during the intersessional period. We do recognize that we have no time to discuss this, but we are requesting your good officers to indicate a placeholder for this. The reason why we are putting this is because we are following a One Health approach, but the text as it stands to date is mainly on the human health. So the plant health and the animal health is not covered. So the delegation of Kenya had already mentioned this in the various contact groups to signal to the meetings that we intend to introduce this. And we'd also be able to bring some text to be put on the portal for consideration ahead of the intersessional period. Thank you very much.
I thank the representative from Kenya. Now I give the floor to Senegal, followed by Uruguay. Senegal, you have the floor.
Merci. Thank you. Thank you indeed, sir. We back your proposal, namely to carry out intersessional work, the one which you have just shared with us. We congratulate you for this, and we'd like to thank you for it. Furthermore, we also back what was just said by Ghana on behalf of the African group, as well as all of the different elements which Ghana touched upon. We would like to add to these the comment which was made by Rwanda and backed by Peru, to wit, that these types of polymers cannot simply be left aside, because we need to look at the complete life cycle of plastics. And finally, sir, we would like to back the proposal made by Nigeria to have civil society, participate in our work. It should not be left on the sidelines. It should accompany us all the way through to the achievement of an agreement. Thank you.
I thank the representative from Senegal. Now I give the floor to Uruguay, followed by Switzerland. Uruguay tiene la palabra.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I will deliver this statement on behalf of GRULAC. The GRULAC would like to thank the Chair for this initiative. We support your proposal and commend your hard work. But we would like to highlight that for the GRULAC, it is fundamental that we include in the proposal regarding MOI an item related to the structure of the financial mechanism, including a multilateral dedicated fund to reflect the discussions of subgroup 2.1. Thank you.
Gracias a la delegación de Uruguay.
Thank you so much to the delegation of Uruguay.
Floor to Switzerland, followed by Cuba. Switzerland, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And also thank you for your work, and we support the proposal on the intersessional work. Regarding the means of implementation, we think that's a good proposal. We have heard the call to mention in a manner explicitly the financial mechanism. If that would be the case, then we should as well include the other three baskets of the means of implementation, as we have discussed it in the contact group, as a part of the efforts to mobilize resources, shift investments, and enable us to achieve the objectives of the instrument. We also support the work on the criteria for products, chemicals of concerns, and related product design. In our view, what is missing in the proposal now is what we do with those criteria. So we also add some language that we consider application, for example, to work on lists. We further support the proposal made by Rwanda and Peru on intersessional work related to sustainable levels of consumption and production. It seems a sensible way forward to work on that topic that is sensitive, but more information will for sure enable us to better discuss it. We also support the call to include observers for those meetings. They are important resource persons. It can be a limited number, but I think it's important that they are part of it. Thank you.
I thank the representative from Switzerland. Now I give the floor to Cuba, followed by Mauritius. Cuba tiene la palabra.
Cuba, you have the floor. Thank you, Chair. My delegation would really like to thank you for all the efforts that you've undertaken in order to lead all the consultations which have brought us here. We know that there are a lot of topics that have to be considered, different points of view, in particular during the intersessional period. But I'm sure that we can reach agreement in the time remaining to us. We really need to approve what we're going to do during the intersessional work, and we need to make sure that we don't do what happened at the end of INC-3, where we didn't have an agreement. We would like to align ourselves with statements made on behalf of GRULAC. So we are in agreement with what you're proposing for the intersessional work. Thank you. I thank the distinguished delegate of Cuba.
Floor to Mauritius, followed by Samoa. Mauritius, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to thank you for your personal proposal on intersessional work to further progress our negotiations. My delegation would like to echo the statements made by Rwanda, Peru, Malawi, and others who have requested intersessional work on various issues, including primary plastic polymers and definition of key terms as highlighted by GRULAC. Thank you, Chair.
I thank the representative from Mauritius. Now I give the floor to Samoa, followed by Iran. Samoa, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On behalf of the 39 small island developing states, we'd like to thank the Chair for this very helpful proposal on the way forward. We agree that we need to do much more work if we are going to conclude this instrument by the end of INC-5. We think that in many areas, we remain quite conceptually far apart. We see that in the negotiating rooms where we are arguing about different concepts through textual negotiations. We think that the intersessional proposal by the Chair can be helpful in bringing us closer to a meeting of the minds on exactly what we want this instrument to do. We do not think that the intersessional meeting should be a textual negotiation. The current text should inform our discussions, but we should not further negotiate the text in the intersessional meetings. On the specifics of the proposal, we think that the expert group on means of implementation should cover all aspects of Part 3 with a focus on analyzing potential mechanisms and means for the implementation of the agreement. We are interested to hear from others on the scope of the second expert group. We want to make sure that the work is focused and can be accomplished in the time that we have. We think that the INC Secretariat should prepare or update documents that will be helpful to the expert groups. Again, we thank you for the proposal and look forward to working with other members to move forward effectively. Thank you.
I thank the representative from Samoa. Now I give the floor to Iran, followed by Pakistan. Iran, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and good evening. Mr. Chairman, my delegation would like to extend its support behind your proposal for having another intersessional work. I remember our discussion and negotiations during INC-3, which unfortunately was not resulted in having a continuation of our elaborations, in particular with respect to technicalities. Having some progress at the end of this meeting means that still we require some further discussion on technical aspects. Accordingly, we would like to support your proposal for having discussions on different technical aspects. Among those issues, we believe that some areas such as legacy plastics and waste management, together with plastic designs and applications, are among the most important ones, which needs further discussion among colleagues. Mr. Chairman, I also wish to take this opportunity to discuss about the organization of those meetings. That would be very important if the two working groups, which are supposed to discuss these technical aspects and also means of implementation, to be in parallel together. So on those areas which exist, there are some interlinked subjects, there could be some consultations between two groups and members of delegations with respect to those issues. So what is also important is that those intersessional work should not reiterate another INC meeting. I mean, the length of the meeting should be short, so maybe 2 days could be enough for both of the working group, which could be held in parallel. I also wish to reiterate what our colleagues from Russian Federation insisted and emphasized, that the discussions to be fair, balanced, and also make sure that nobody will be left behind and all of the voices will be heard. Thank you very much.
I thank the representative from Iran. Now I'd like to give the floor to Pakistan, followed by Canada. Pakistan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, my delegation would like to welcome the proposal that's been given by you regarding intersessional work, as you are better placed than anybody else to decide whether we really need intersessional work or not. But my delegation has some points to raise that need to have some consideration by your kind self. The first and foremost point is that there should be absolute transparency in the process, and the process should be based on consensus. As we have heard some parties, and as you know, that each party has some items of work that are near to their heart, and it stands true for all the parties. But my position on that is that the work to be done in the intersessional should be based on consensus and after consultation with the parties. My second point of concern is that, as spoken by some previous speakers, is the neutrality in the proceedings. And my delegation would like that whoever is appointed as the co-chair, their neutrality should be par excellence. And secondly, for my delegation, the most important element that will be a key in making this instrument successful is the concrete and deciding, means of finance and implementation. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
I thank the representative from Pakistan. Now I give the floor to Canada, followed by Micronesia. Canada, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. And given the time available this evening and our strong desire to get back to the subgroups tonight, I will be short and note that Canada supports your proposal to convene 2 expert groups in the intersessional period. We understand at this stage the need to compromise on the key topics needing expertise to conclude negotiations of the global agreement at INC-4 later this year. Canada believes that the proposed approach strikes an acceptable balance. We would also like to continue the current momentum and work virtually before the in-person session for both areas of work. Canada thanks the Chair for their work on this proposal, which will be critically important to advancing our shared goal towards INC-4. Thank you.
I thank Canada. Now I give the floor to Micronesia, followed by Saudi Arabia. Micronesia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you for all of your work this week and to all the parties who've been contributing in the contact groups. We too support your work your plan for intersessional work, but we too would echo the comments made by Rwanda and Peru and others calling for intersessional work as well on production. We have a clearly stated mandate which addresses the full life cycle of plastics, of which production of plastics is part. It is essential to address production of plastics if we are to meet our goal of ending plastic pollution. It's also essential to address plastic production if we are to meet our goals on the climate system. So given that it's squarely within our mandate, it's essential to achieve our goals, and it's essential to achieve our broader goals and other instruments. We think that we should also make progress on this key part of our mandate during intersessional work. Thank you.
I thank the representative from Micronesia. Now I give the floor to Saudi Arabia, followed by Kuwait. Saudi Arabia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for giving Saudi Arabia the floor. And we thank you and support you in addressing this important topic of intersessional work. We would like to share Saudi Arabia's views in this matter. On the scientific part, our delegation believes that engaging in intersessional work presents a valuable opportunity to delve into topics of interest to all parties, while sidestepping subjects with distinct conflicting views that could consume the time. Thus, we kindly request to concentrate our efforts on topics with encouraging convergence, like waste management, product design, and capacity building. With respect to proposed intersessional work regarding means of implementation, Part 3, Section 1, we believe that the current mandate is a bit too wide, and we see value in it being specific on financial mechanism and the needs of developing country. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I thank the representative from Saudi Arabia. Now I give the floor to Kuwait, followed by Monaco. Kuwait, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We firmly advocate for utilizing intersessional work to explore mutually beneficial topics, steering clear of contentious issues. Thus, we propose focusing our energies on areas such as product design to optimize productivity and propel us closer to our objectives. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I thank the representative from Kuwait. Now I give the floor to Monaco. Monaco, you have the floor, followed by South Africa. Monaco, please.
Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Chair, for your efforts and consultations on intersessional work, which we support. We also welcome all the expressions of interest in managing plastic polymers. We are in favour of the contribution of the civil society to the work of experts on this. Thank you.
I thank the representative from Monaco. Now I give the floor to South Africa, followed by Brazil. South Africa, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. South Africa aligns with the statement made by Ghana on behalf of the 54 member states of the Africa Group. Protection of human health and environment from plastic pollution is critical, and South Africa is in full support of your proposal for the intersessional work. We want to emphasize the critical importance of the financial mechanism for this instrument as part of the intersessional work in order to ensure that support for the implementation of the instrument by developing countries is considered. Inclusivity is critical, and thus request that the INC ensure that the expert group also include non-party members. Thank you.
I thank the representative from South Africa. Now I give the floor to Brazil, followed by Vanuatu. Brazil, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. We are one of the delegations that fought until the very last minute for a mandate for formal intersessional work in Nairobi, and so we thank you very much for your proposal. From the perspective of our delegation, your proposal is built on a perception that takes into account the different positions of different countries and regions. It's a careful proposal. We therefore understand that what you presented to us is balanced and built on a constructive approach. And from this perspective of this delegation, we thank you and support it, and thank Uruguay for speaking for all of us of GRULAC. Thank you.
I thank the representative from Brazil. Now I give the floor to Vanuatu, followed by Ethiopia. Vanuatu, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. As Chair of the Pacific Seats, Vanuatu make this statement on behalf of the 14 Pacific member states. We align with the statement delivered by Samoa on behalf of AOCs. Chair, we appreciate your efforts in establishing a mandate on international work, which will be clear to inform the INC process going forward. Your firm direction is received in good faith and encourages the spirit of cooperation and collaboration on key areas of conventions and divergence across the current iteration of the draft instrument. Chair, we only have 5 and 8 full negotiation days left to agree to a treaty, which correspond to a much-needed commitment and action to end plastic pollution. We agree with the modality proposed to have an expert working group on international work that is open to all member states. We believe this should be open-ended. In addition to EU's proposal for intersessional work, the PCS seats propose to support the elements of intersessional work by Rwanda and Peru to explore sustainable level of production and consumption. We believe such discussion is beneficial at this stage to continue a productive discussion on this critical issue in advance of INC-5. Lastly, Chair, we agree with the modality proposed to have an open-ended legal drafting group with a clear mandate and one that addresses the concerns of equal representation. Thank you, Chair.
I thank the representative from Vanuatu. Now I give the floor to Ethiopia, followed by the United Kingdom. Ethiopia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, for giving us the floor and the proposal you presented. Ethiopia welcomes the proposal you have presented. We believe it offers a strong foundation for moving forward. Ethiopia has also aligned itself with the statement delivered by distinguished delegates of Ghana on behalf of the African Group, which comprehensively address key issues. Furthermore, Ethiopia strongly supports the suggestion made by distinguished delegates of Nigeria, including a limited number of observers per region during the intersessional work, will ensure a more inclusive and geographically representative process. This will allow for valuable contribution from diverse stakeholders while maintaining manageable working group size. We look forward to engaging in constructive discussions throughout the intersessional period to make further progress on this important issue. Thank you.
I thank the representative from Ethiopia. Now I give the floor to the United Kingdom, followed by Israel. UK, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The UK thanks the Chair for his proposal on intersessional work. Whilst there are many areas where further work would be helpful, the UK favours a targeted programme of intersessional work focused on areas where further technical input would support the conclusion of negotiations at INC-5. The UK supports the mandate proposed by the Chair, which we consider represents a balance of work between the substantive elements of the treaty and means of implementation. We would also welcome the ability for observers to be included to the extent possible. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I thank the UK. Now I give the floor to Israel, followed by the United States of America. Israel, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. We support the intersessional work that was proposed in emphasis on the online work. We support the proposition of Rwanda and Peru for another group on primary production. We also echo Switzerland with support on the joint work with stakeholders and experts. Thank you.
I thank the representative from Israel. Now I give the floor to the United States. Please, the US, you have the floor, followed by the EU.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Just to start by expressing our appreciation for your work putting forward this proposal and agree with the comments from Brazil. You have tried, we know, to put forward, I think, a balanced proposal. So we're very appreciative of that. Overall, we're very supportive of your proposal. I just wanted to mention three aspects of this, including to respond to one of the proposals that's already been made in the room. So first, I would just say that we can make explicit reference to the financial mechanism as was articulated by GRULAC. I think if we do that, it is important that we also therefore reference the other sources of financing that we will need to achieve the objectives of the instrument, and that's specifically aligning financial flows, catalyzing finance, and enhancing resource transparency. Secondly, we appreciate the fine balance of what you've tried to do here in your proposal on the expert group in paragraph 4. Just to say, I think for us, we would want to make a slight change there where the proposal talks about proposing criteria to instead, I think, more clearly articulate that the purpose is to propose recommendations to further develop the draft text. We think that can be helpful. We like what you've laid out here in that paragraph and more broadly on defining the work of the expert group. And then finally, just to say, we think an important addition, and a number of other countries have mentioned this, is just that the Secretariat should also invite observers with relevant technical expertise, and that would include civil society in those discussions in an appropriate way. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and again, appreciate your efforts to put forward, I think, a very constructive proposal that will allow us to move forward. Thank you.
I thank the representative from the United States. Now I give the floor to the European Union, followed by the Philippines. EU, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. On behalf of the EU and its 27 member states, we would like to thank you for your proposal for intersessional work. We believe it is a balanced proposal that we can support. As has been mentioned by others, we would also support the participation of a limited number of observers. We find this really important. And we would also find it very useful for the meeting to have persons with specific technical expertise invited to the meeting to share information to the experts that will participate. We believe that this will be of benefit to the meeting and to the discussions that will take place. In the view of the EU and its member states, it would also be important for the meeting to dispose of a document prepared by the Secretariat on issues related to chemicals of concern, problematic and avoidable products and product design, including criteria for these, as well as examples of chemicals and products that would fulfill these criteria. We support what was mentioned by the US, that we need to look beyond the financial mechanism and also reference the other sources of financing we will need to achieve the objectives of the instrument, like aligning financial flows, catalyzing finance, and enhancing resource transparency. We could also support intersessional work on the issues raised by Peru and Rwanda. Finally, it's important that there is a good understanding of how the results of the intersessional work will be taken up for consideration by INC-4. I thank you, Chair.
I thank the representative from the European Union. Now I give the floor to the Philippines, followed by Thailand. Philippines, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. We appreciate the opportunity to share our views on the work thus far of the INC. We thank the co-chairs of the contact groups and the co-facilitators of the subgroups and all the distinguished delegates who have shared their views and worked hard the past days. The Philippines strongly believes that this international legally binding instrument must be guided by science while remaining cognizant of traditional knowledge. Based on our discussions, we need to have more time to delve into pending proposals, including the transparency assessment criteria for plastic chemicals, polymers, products, technologies, and systems and services across the full life cycle of plastics. Mr. Chair, UNEA 5/14 also mandates us to include provisions promoting sustainable production and consumption of plastics. No amount of downstream measures will halt the tripling of plastic waste leaking into the environment. Thus, we align with delegations in supporting the intersessional meetings as proposed by the Chair on chemicals of concern as we prepare for INC-5. We believe that we should also consider including, as suggested by many delegations, expanding the mandate to also include primary plastic polymers. We would also appreciate if the intersessional work could also tackle issues related to plastic pollution, such as biodiversity and disasters. We also support an open-ended legal drafting group with a clear terms of reference and ready to work with others to move this forward. Further, Mr. Chair, we recommend that we consider financing as part of the intersessional work. The effective implementation of this treaty rests on robust financing, including its interlinkages with other means of implementation. Thank you, Chair.
I thank the Philippines. Now I give the floor to Thailand, followed by Turkey. Thailand, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dear distinguished colleagues, Thailand supports Chair proposals on the intersessional work before INC-5 in Busan. Both ad hoc open-ended expert groups will allow member states to work on pending issues from this INC-4. Therefore, participation of all member states is very important. That will facilitate the finalization of the committee work at INC-5. In this regard, Thailand would like to highlight our proposal on technical matters to be placed on the intersessional agenda, taking into account the relevant proposal proposed in this INC as follows. The work on proposed definition of term used in the instrument. The work on proposed criterion and approaches to identify chemicals of concern using in plastic and plastic products, including the proposed initial list. The work on proposed criterion and approach to identify problematic and avoidable plastic products, including the proposed initial list, and the proposed guideline complying universal criterion standard specific requirements of product design and performance, or even the roadmap to get it under the instrument. Thailand also welcomed the proposal on the intersessional work of the polymer product proposed by Rwanda and Peru. We believe that this intersessional dialogue before INC-5 will facilitate the negotiation of this provision. Thailand would like to encourage all member states in participating the intersessional work as proposed together to shape the draft instrument in order to get our work completed within our set time frame, which is at the end of this year. Thailand looks forward to constructive engaging in the process. Thank you.
I thank the representative from Thailand. Now I give the floor to Turkey, followed by Indonesia. Turkey, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We would like to express our sincere thanks and support for your proposal for intersession work. We would like to share our positive view on the efficient utilization of the time between INC-4 and INC-5 and the in-depth technical aspects of the issues. The open-ended nature of these studies is also welcomed. We are confident that the intersessional meeting will also provide a productive environment, which is a very good opportunity to move our work forward. In order to enable us to carry out our work, we would like to express that our other options can be considered in addition to the work program you have suggested. As the delegation of Turkey, we would like to express that we will endeavor to actively participate in these studies. Thank you.
I thank the representative from Turkey. Now I give the floor to Indonesia, followed by China. Indonesia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Indonesia welcomes the proposal made by INC Chair to create an ad hoc intersession open-ended expert group. We believe this is one of the important measures to facilitate the process of negotiation, as the time now is not on our side. We would like to underline the importance of a dedicated special mechanism, including funding to support developing countries in achieving the target of instrument in the future, while also utilizing the available and appropriate mechanisms to ensure a timely provision of such support. Thus, we would also like to propose an intersessional working group in financing, particularly in developing a hybrid financing mechanism. Reflecting to the discussions that took place in the subgroup level, we also see the merit into discussing the relevant technical issues related to the financing mechanism, among others the identification of financial resources, resource mobilization, and leveraging private sector funding. We are also of the view that the intersessional work should be conducted with a view to produce an information paper that would then be utilized to inform the INC-4 so that our future negotiations in Busan could proceed in a more prepared and well-informed manner on the issue. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and we are looking forward to working constructively in the future.
I thank the representative from Indonesia. Now I give the floor to China, followed by Fiji. China, you have the floor.
Supports your proposal regarding establishing two well-balanced, open-ended intersessional working groups. Regarding the one on means of implementation, we suggest to give the mandate to the group, focusing on the establishment of the financial mechanism to support the developing countries, since we believe this is crucial in building up the political mutual trust and fulfillment of the goal of this legally binding instrument. The intersessional work on control measures should be of non-negotiating, technical, and based on science. The outcomes of the group should not prejudge the negotiation results. China suggests this group to focus on non-contentious subject, and the product design may well serve the purpose in this. We hope that through the work of this group, they can create the outcomes in minimizing or avoiding plastic pollution suggestions and reducing the problems related to the environment and human health. The group may aim to work on sharing approaches, policies, technologies, and experiences from member states to navigate towards a guidance to improve the product design with the focuses on, for example, increasing the safety, durability, and circularity of plastic products, on minimizing the environmental leakages that leads to the plastic pollution, that may improve and encourage the use of secondary plastics and manage the risk of hazardous chemical additives that pose harm to the environment and human health. The group may also promote the alternative plastics and also non-plastic substitutes. Thank you, Chair.
I thank the representative from China. Now I give the floor to Fiji, followed by Australia. Fiji, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Fiji aligns itself with the statement delivered by Samoa on behalf of IOCs and by Vanuatu on behalf of Pacific Seeds. Chair, Fiji joins other members in expressing its support towards your leadership in proposing the need for intersessional work, which will shape the way forward. With less than 7 months remaining, members are still divided on many aspects, which is quite concerning for us. We cannot afford to indulge the interest of a select few because they have nothing to lose and we have everything to lose. We journeyed thousands of miles with the hope to live here with some progress. Each day, most of us reflect on how to communicate progress to our leaders and the communities that we represent on behalf of our nation and our region. We acknowledge that a job half done is a job not done. We also know that time is against us in terms of how much more the planet can take. We stand ready to work in collaboration with you, Mr. Chair, and all states and non-state actors, including indigenous people, local communities, women, children and youth, whose voices are equally important in shaping this treaty. We join the many others to support the intersessional proposal by IOCs, as well as Rwanda and Peru, to explore the sustainable levels of plastic production and consumption. The science is clear, Mr. Chair. We cannot reach our 1.5-degree goal without limiting plastic production and consumption. Chair, we do appreciate the balance of areas that need further work, and we cannot leave INC-4 without a firm decision on the clear path forward to Busan. I thank you, Chair.
I thank the representative from Fiji. Now I give the floor to Australia, followed by Norway. Australia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Australia supports your proposal for intersessional work. This is going to be vitally important if we are to meet the objectives set out in our mandate and finalise our negotiations this year. Australia supports the comments made by Canada and the United Kingdom and recognises the importance of us securing a mandate to continue this work during the upcoming and critical intersessional period. Thank you.
I thank the representative from Australia. Now I give the floor to Norway, followed by Cook Islands. In Norway, please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. We thank you for your proposal that we support with elements already reflected by others. In addition to criteria like the African region, we would like to add the consideration of lists of chemicals of concern in plastics and of problematic and avoidable plastic products and how this relates to the negotiating text. We can also support the proposal by Peru and Rwanda. Norway can support considerations on the financial mechanism as first proposed by GRULAC. Like others, we would then need to add the three other baskets: aligning financial flows, catalyzing finance, and enhancing resource transparency. This includes how we guide financial flows within the private sector to country-level implementation. Like many others, we emphasize the importance of including observers, especially with relevant scientific expertise in the intersessional work. I thank you.
I thank the representative from Norway. Now I give the floor to the Cook Islands, followed by New Zealand. Cook Islands, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. The Cook Islands appreciates your efforts and direction in proposing a way forward for the intersessional work. As expressed by Rwanda, Peru, Switzerland, EU, Malawi, Senegal, Federated States of Micronesia, and Vanuatu on behalf of the 14 Pacific SIDS, Thailand, Norway, and others, the Cook Islands further supports the need to have sustainable production included in the intersessional work required. Chair, throughout INC-4, an increasing number of member states have expressed their support for option 1 of Part 2, Article 1 on primary plastic polymers. We strongly believe this has merit to feature in your proposal for intersessional work. We therefore urge the additional of sustainable production to intersessional work. Chair, for big ocean states in the Pacific, this represents a critical area requiring urgent action. We can barely manage transboundary plastic waste that is threatening all levels of the triple planetary crisis for our region. In the spirit of the Pacific Talanoa, we bring our special circumstances to the table in good faith, but the urgency faced by our region leaves us little time to act. We need and count on your support and that all of member states in shaping a treaty that is inclusive and ambitious. Thank you, Chair.
I thank the representative from the Cook Islands. Now I give the floor to New Zealand, followed by Tunisia. New Zealand, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. As we have a lot of work to do tonight, I intend to be brief. Firstly, thank you for your proposal on intersessional work, which New Zealand is broadly supportive of. Secondly, we join others in emphasising the importance of observer involvement in intersessional work. Plastic pollution is an issue that we must all work on together. Governments alone will not be able to address this global challenge. Therefore, we join others in supporting a role for observers in intersessional work. Thank you.
I thank the representative from New Zealand. Now I give the floor to Tunisia, followed by Palau. Tunisia, you have the floor.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le
Thank you. Thank you so much, Chair. We wish to congratulate you and indeed back your proposal regarding the intersessional work before INC-4. This intersessional work is extremely important. It will allow us to discuss the technical aspects of the future instrument, and we align ourselves with the statement made by Ghana on behalf of the 54 African states. And in so doing, we back the observers who can contribute their expertise in this field, backing the general objective, which is the protection of human health and the environment by focusing on the entire life cycle of plastics. Thank you.
I thank very much to the representative of Tunisia. Now I give the floor to Palau, followed by Japan. Palau, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. We align ourselves with the statements made by Samoa on behalf of AOSIS and Vanuatu on behalf of the Pacific SIDS, and we support your proposal to accelerate our progress through intersessional work. We would, however, echo statements made by Peru, Rwanda, Micronesia, Cook Islands, and others on the inclusion of exploring sustainable levels of production and consumption in primary plastic polymers. We believe that this, in conjunction with the criteria set in your proposal, looked at in a holistic way, is key to designing a successful instrument that would fulfill our mandate of UNEA 514. We also would like to support interventions from the US, EU, New Zealand, and others on the invitation and inclusion of observers. We've found that they have very creative solutions, and we think we would benefit from including them in our deliberations. Thank you.
I thank the representative from Palau. Now I give the floor to Japan, followed by Bangladesh. Japan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Japan appreciates the Chair's close communication with the members and welcomes your proposal on the intersessional work. We believe that the paper is carefully drafted and well-balanced, covering both the control measures and the means of implementation. On means of implementation, we agree with the US, EU, and others in that the scope of the expert group should cover financial flows, catalyzing finance and transparency in order to achieve the objective of this instrument. Thank you.
I thank the representative from Japan. Now I give the floor to Bangladesh, followed by Singapore. Bangladesh, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Bangladesh delegation appreciates and supports your proposal to establish an ad hoc intersessional open-ended expert group. This group will be responsible for developing an analysis of potential resources and means that could be mobilized for the implementation of the instrument. The committee will consider this analysis at its 5th session. The intersessional open-ended expert group will also propose criteria on products, chemicals of concern, and related product design issues. These criteria will be presented to the committee at its 5th session for consideration. We expect the mandate of the intersessional work will be clear and acceptable to all, and the concern of the member states will be taken into consideration. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I thank the representative from Bangladesh. Now I give the floor to Singapore, followed by Guinea-Bissau. Sorry. Singapore, you have the floor. Singapore, you have the floor. There is a problem with the mic.
Thank you, Chair. Singapore aligns with the statement delivered by Samoa on behalf of AOSIS. We'd like to thank the Chair for putting forward this constructive proposal. Singapore strongly supports a mandate on intersessional work, which will help us build clarity and understanding of issues that are under negotiation and pave the way for a successful INC-5. We agree with others that the focus of intersessional work should be balanced and be conducted in an open manner. It will be useful to make clear that the open-ended expert group's work is to provide recommendations to be considered by the committee at INC-5 in Busan. Once again, we thank you for your proposal, and we stand ready to work with all members on intersessional work.
I thank the representative from Singapore. Now I'd like to give the floor to Guinea-Bissau, followed by Cambodia. Guinea-Bissau, you have the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le
Thank you so much, sir. Guinea-Bissau would like to congratulate and back your proposal, and we share the position voiced by Ghana on behalf of the African Group. We also back the positions voiced by Senegal and Nigeria. Now, we believe that the adoption of normative solutions based on recognized scientific knowledge is fundamental when it comes to combating plastic pollution. We thus believe that the issue of financing is one which should be tackled during this meeting. We would like to underscore the need to see civil society participate in the meetings as observers. Thank you.
I thank the representative from Guinea-Bissau. Now I give the floor to Cambodia, followed by Grenada. Cambodia, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So Cambodia also would like to join other members to thank and support you on the initiation of the intersession before the INC-4 to be held in Busan. And we also would like to request that the financial mechanism should be included in the intersessional discussion, because we can see how important it is. We have met from INC-1, now it's INC-4, and of course the intersession is going to happen before the INC-5. And we know that we want to see this treaty to be established after the INC-5, but without a clear mechanism of financial mechanism, we are afraid that the implementation of the treaty will not be able to go smoothly, especially for the developing country. And the other topic that we would like to request for the inclusion in the intersession is that the One Health approach that has been mentioned by our delegate from Kenya, if I'm not mistaken, because when it comes to the One Health approach, we know that the health of the human and as well as the animal is very important. So the biodiversity topic should be included as well. And again, thank you, and we are looking forward to a fruitful discussion at the intersession. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I thank the distinguished delegate from Cambodia. Now I give the floor to Grenada. Please, Grenada, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, we thank you for your proposal on intersessional work and support its focus. We came to INC-4 with the intent to advance a formal mandate on intersessional work, and we're happy to advance under your leadership. Grenada aligns itself with the statements made by Samoa on behalf of the Alliance of Small Island Developing States and by Uruguay on behalf of GRULAC. We also support the proposal made by Norway to include work on the listing of chemicals of concern and problematic products. And we'd like to reiterate the importance of ensuring that intersessional work supports the design of a robust and innovative financial mechanism that delivers on the implementation of this critical treaty, and which also considers the special circumstances of SIDS. We thank you.
I thank the representative from Grenada, and I thank delegations for their comments and guidance. And I want to thank all member states for their hard work and ongoing support. Oh, sorry. Uruguay is asking for the floor. Uruguay tiene la palabra, por favor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Uruguay strongly supports the Chair's proposal and the comments expressed by GRULAC. Also, we would like to express our support to the proposal presented by Rwanda and Peru. And lastly, we echo on the interventions made by many delegations regarding the relevance and the added value to include the participation of relevant observers in the intersessional work meetings. Thank you.
Muchas gracias a Uruguay.
Thank you so much, Uruguay.
I am grateful for the high level. Oh, sorry, one more. Malaysia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair.
Malaysia thanks your effort in developing the list of topics for the intersessional work. Malaysia is supportive of the list of topics and modalities that you propose. Malaysia would like to highlight that the intersessional work must be transparent, neutral, and inclusive. Thank you.
I thank the representative from Malaysia, and I will close the list of speakers there. My suggestion is to go back to our work in the subgroups as soon as possible, and I acknowledge also the importance of observers. Tomorrow, I will give the floor also to the distinguished representatives of observers groups. And once again, I'm grateful for the high level of support. I will take also this opportunity to reflect on my comments as I prepare a final proposal for decision. I want to thank all member states for their hard work and ongoing support. I'm committed to work with you all in this last day, well, last night tonight and last day tomorrow, so we maintain progress and meet the high expectations that the world has set for us. We are at a crucial moment in our crucial session. I count on your goodwill, energy, and readiness. As I mentioned, tomorrow we will hold our final meetings of subgroups, followed by meetings of both contact groups, as indicated in the schedule made available in the website. We will subsequently hold a plenary meeting to consider the outcomes of our work, consider the remaining items on the agenda, and the closing of the session. The committee has thus concluded this stage of its consideration of agenda item 4. Distinguished delegates, I will now like to invite the Secretariat to provide further information on the scheduling of tonight's meetings. Secretariat, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Subgroup 1.2 will meet in Canada Hall, and Subgroup 1.3 will meet in Gatineau Room immediately after this plenary meeting is adjourned. Delegates are kindly reminded to check the schedule for any latest information. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretariat. This now brings us to the conclusion of our plenary meeting today. This meeting is now adjourned. Thank you very much.